Just want to let y'all know, before getting the video, I haven't posted in a while. I've been dealing with this weather up here, man. It's really getting to me, keeping me busy and stuff like that here around the house. But I'm gonna get back to posting here real soon. But let's talk a little bit about coon dogs and stuff like that. I will just tell y'all, man, coon dogs are a different kind of animal. They're a different kind of dog. They're definitely built different, and they will go. A lot of them are very high powered. A lot of them are very high strung. A lot of them, their nose is uncontrollable. It's hard to deal with them, in and around the house, around the yard, in the woods, you name it. Coon dogs can be very problematic. With that being said, a lot of the problems we can shift and we can give it a good positive direction, and we can get a lot of really good work out of a problematic dog by working it the correct way. Now, what that looks like is 100 million different things. Some dogs work really well when you run their energy down. Some dogs work really well when you have their energy up. Some dogs need their feed held. Some dogs need to have a little bit of feed on them to act right. Things like that. So any little bit of tidbits and a little bit of tweaking that we can do on a dog to inch that little bit of performance out of them, inch that little bit of focus into them. That's what we need to be looking at. Even as far as I had a dog that as soon as you cut him, he would bolt off, right? So he would bolt off and he was looking for trash, right? So every time that he bolted off, I'd give him a bump. Every time I cut him loose, I'd give him a bump, right? On the shot collar. So he acted right after he got bumped. But for whatever the reason, that dog, if you didn't bump him, he was running deer. But if you bumped him when you cut him loose, he was doing what he's supposed to do. And some of them is kind of like a link with the rituals thing, right? So that is kind of like a weird, oddball, quirky thing that a dog had. But a lot of it has to do with like the rituals that we do, the collars going on at the same place at the same time in the same way, in the dog box the same way, repeating processes and building consistency. And consistency isn't only for us practicing how we discipline or how we allow a dog to behave. It is a ritual on how that we act and how that we behave too, in what order that we do things. This makes a huge thing, and you won't even notice it, right? So if we do something, we get into a habit of doing something for a while, and then we unknowingly switch that habit, that can affect onto the dog. And the dog's like, what is up? Something's weird. He didn't do that thing that he usually does, or whatever. So there's a lot of things in that realm of, rituals and building consistency. And I had the whole video on consistency, but I want to drive that home for you guys. And I just want to let y'all know that if y'all ever need any advice or any help, go ahead and just message me and I'll try to help you out the best that I can. Now, I have such a huge catalog of videos and such a huge catalog of information out here on the YouTube channel, and I've talked about this on the channel before. It kind of gets rough to sit down and come up with some of these ideas, because at the end of the day, one person only knows so much. But I have got the group for y'all. Y'all are more than welcome to message me on Facebook or in the Gmail and pick my brain a little bit, and maybe that pops me off some ideas. Talking to you guys in the comments, that definitely gives me some good ideas a lot of the time. Another thing that I wanted to kind of talk about here is credit. We're giving credit where credit is due. What really tends to happen in this situation is it breeds a lot of bad blood between guys that usually get along, or guys that are good long-term buddies, or even family, right? So taking credit where credit is due to somebody else is a big, huge no-no in my book. And I think that when we don't understand that the longevity of a hound and over the career of a dog and over months and months and months is how we get consistency, is how we break dogs off of things, is how we teach dogs things that last. Okay, so we teach things that last, right? And I also understand that if we get a dog from somebody for a certain amount of time, we can blame all the bad on that other person all that we want to. But at some point in time, we have to stand up and we have to take a stand and say, I'm going to fix this dog. This dog is unfixable for me. We have to make that choice, right? So when that time comes and it turns over to us to where everything that the dog's issues are now, it's our responsibility, right? So there's never going to be something that you fix in 1 second on a dog, okay? So the way that I like to think about this, the way that I picture this, and the way that I would like y'all to get the picture on that is take the same dog, okay? So we have one dog. We put it in the woods 5 nights, okay? In a row. First night on fire, burns a hole through the woods, 17 coons, whatever you want to call it. Treat 100 of them, who cares, right? So it doesn't matter the number. He's doing his job and he's doing it very well. No hiccups, no problems. Looks like an absolute rock star. Looks like an absolute secret agent in the woods out here taking down these coons. Next night we put him in the woods and he does nothing but run trash. He does nothing but run off. He does nothing but chew bark, dig holes, you name it. He does nothing but the absolute utmost worst job a dog could possibly do, right? You take him in the woods. The third night, he does half okay. He does okay a little bit, gets his job done the way that he's supposed to. And then you take him in the woods the fourth night, and he gets out there, and he's looking a lot more like the first night. And you're thinking, oh, thank God he turned it around. And then on the fifth night, you put him in the woods, and he looks like the second night to where he was just bumping trash, doing all this mess. Now, depending on the day in that 5 days that another person gets that dog, let's say you get rid of that dog on the second day, and he goes and he hunts for somebody else like that. That person is, if they're having an issue understanding that dogs, you have to take a long graph and understand what a problem is with a dog. If they take a dog on a bad night and judge that dog up and then correct that dog all over the place and claim that they fixed that dog and the other person didn't do nothing and all this stuff, and then they turn around and take a credit for the dog when it turns right back around and has its good day on the fourth day, right? So it's a really easy pitfall to get trapped into, and it's a really bad thinking process, I think. So we have to really watch that in ourselves. I just wanted to give y'all a heads up on that one. We need to understand that dogs learn over periods of time. Dogs learn through consistency. Dog learns through rituals. Dogs learn through, drawing lines in the sand over forever. Dogs aren't a one night thing and they're done, they're fixed, they're doing what they're supposed to do. Dogs are not that way. It doesn't matter who thinks that. They are absolutely not that way. They need repetitive processes to learn. Another thing here is I don't care who you are. You're not going to go in the woods with a dog one day and know every issue that dog has. It's impossible to know all the issues or problems that a dog is having in one night in the woods. I want to stress that to everybody. So even if we go look at hounds, even if we go put dogs in the woods that we're wanting to buy, and he might not look so hot, maybe give him another try in the woods or a different patch of woods or something like that. Because just because a dog has a bad day doesn't mean that it is a bad dog. And just because a dog has a bad day or looks bad in the woods doesn't mean that the trainer gave the dog issues. It doesn't mean that the person who had him before you wasn't doing what they were supposed to. It doesn't mean that that dog doesn't do its job. And another thing here that tends to happen a lot, and I'll try to get out of here really quick for you guys, is that a dog is trained and somebody else buys that dog because that dog doesn't do its job the way that the person who bought it wants that dog to do its job. Then they want to give a bunch of bad credit to the guy they got it from. The fact of the matter is here that is, if a dog is doing its job and it doesn't do its job the way that you want it to do it, does not mean that that dog has a single problem, right? So all the problems lie on you, right? So they all lie on you if a dog isn't doing a job to your satisfaction, but it is doing a job and it is completing a task. So the last little thing that I want to talk about here, and I think this is super important. I've mentioned this a little bit on the channel, but I want to stress this fact so hugely to you guys out there. Okay, so coon dogs are one of those dogs that are extremely, 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 extremely against being people mean. I mean, it takes an extraordinary amount of a predicament to cause a coon dog to be people mean. And with that being said, a people mean coon dog is probably one of the worst things that you could ever have on your yard. One of the worst things that you could ever own is a people mean coon dog. Now, there's two kinds of people mean coon dogs. Okay, and once we break them and they turn people mean, they can either be the first kind, and that is to where they are only mean to the person that caused them to be mean to them, right? So they will never, ever, ever not be mean, people mean to that specific person, right? They'll never not be mean to that specific person once they started being people mean. The second kind is that dog has been evoked or evoked it so much so that it is people mean to all people. Okay, so I want to make this very clear. I have never one time ever come across a coon dog that was people mean, that turned the other cheek and changed. The only time that this has been an exception to the rule is in changing hands of owners, right? So one owner, this dog eats me up on the tree. He's constantly trying to bite me. He's eating me up all the time. I can't hunt him. I can't handle him. I can't have him. You take him. The person gets him, and that person doesn't have a single iota of a problem. Now, I have firsthand experience with dogs like this, right? I have firsthand experience with dogs like this. I've dealt with so many secondhand dogs, so many year and a half old, 2 year old dogs people are throwing off on the wayside, people giving dogs away for free. One perfect example of a dog like the first kind here is going to be my cousin's dog. Okay, so my cousin's dog got really people mean towards his dad, right? So his dad kept getting eat up by him, and then that turned into him, his dad, and my cousin getting ate up by that dog. My cousin calls me up and says, "I'm gonna have to put this dog down if you don't take this dog. He's mean. He's eating us up. We can't get him off a tree. We can't do nothing. He keeps on eating us slap up." All right, I'll take him. I got that dog. I never one time had a single issue out of that dog being people mean towards me, right? So he was never, ever, ever people mean towards me. Never showed aggression, even slightly, in the any kind of way whatsoever. Never one time did he ever be aggressive to me, and that is the first kind. The second kind here is we had a walker dog. My brother got this walker dog, and he was already, I don't know, a year and a half, close to 2 years old, maybe almost a year. We got him off of a buddy of our cousins. Okay, so the buddy of our cousins didn't want the dog because the dog kept eating him up. Said the dog's mean. I can't keep the dog. He's mean. He kept eating him up every time he was fooling with him. He kept eating him up, right? So we took the dog. My brother took the dog, and it wasn't very long that dog started being people aggressive to us, right? So it was just like, there's your two kinds in the same example. We have dogs that have been turned people mean to a specific person, and dogs that have been turned people mean to people in general. Them dogs should not be allowed to be around. You should not own that dog. And them dogs are very dangerous. And the last thing that I wanted to just put a little tidbit here is, I like dogs very much. I enjoy dogs very much. I like having them. I like owning them. I like hunting them. I like having house pets. The whole thing, right? I absolutely do not care what dog that it is. I don't care how much I like that dog. I don't care how much I trust that dog. I will never in a million years trust a dog around a child. Ever. Right? And that is a duty as being an adult, right? So I will never trust a dog around a child. I don't care how sweet, how loving, how caring. If that dog has never showed aggression in its life, I don't care if that dog never will show aggression in its life. It is my duty as an adult to keep an eye out for children that are messing around by dogs, because it's very easy for a child to get into a predicament that is compromising and for that child if it is so that that dog decides to bite that kid on that day for whatever the reason. So around here and forever, We were always taught, we was always raised, and we were always told, you respect the dogs, right? So I teach my kids, respect the dogs. Don't put yourself in compromising positions. Stay out of their face. Stay away from them. Don't bug them. Don't agitate them. Don't be mean to them. Don't bother them a bunch, because dogs will absolutely bite you, right? So some dogs, they'll never bite for 10 years, and on the 10 years and one day they decide to bite a kid. So at the end of the day, that's what I say, is it's all fine and good to have a good relationship and a good family thing going on with kids and the dogs and the hunting and things like that. I myself personally would highly recommend that we absolutely establish that with the kid, that you need to respect the dog. Let's not provoke dogs and things like that, because kids do, and they don't know any better. But sometimes that can put a dog in a compromising position. And I have witnessed this over my lifetime a lot of times, kids getting bit by dogs. Never have any kids around me have ever been bitten by a dog. But I know people that think opposite of this, right? I know people that think that dog should allow anything and everything to happen to that dog and it never be people mean. These are the people that I know to have had multiple kids bit, right? So multiple kids have been bit by having this thinking that if the dog bites, it's the dog's fault. Yeah, it's the dog's fault, but we can prevent it. We don't have to learn a dog biting lesson the hard way, and a kid does not have to learn a dog biting lesson the hard way. And with that being said, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I am tired. It's like 5 in the morning. I've just been kind of milling around the house here. I figured I'd sit down and get you a video. Sorry, it's a little bit shaky. I didn't get my tripod out, but y'all keep them treed and keep doing the thing out there, man.